There's so many different kinds of editing. I don't know what the differences are. Can we talk about it?
Sure. Our video today is about the different kinds of editing and tips for finding and working with an editor.
Hi, I'm Rose, the book designer at Alkira Publishing.
And I am Talia, the managing editor at Alkira Publishing.
So what different kinds of editing are there?
There's developmental editing, line editing, copy editing, and proofreading.
So what's the developmental editing part?
So developmental editing involves an in-depth analysis of the overall structure, the plot, the character development, and the narrative flow. At Alkira Publishing, we call it a manuscript appraisal, and it provides guidance to improve the coherence and organisation of the story. It's the big picture editing.
So big picture and like structure and theme and stuff like that.
Yeah, characterisation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what does line editing focus on? The lines? The sentences? Sentence structure. Is that what it is?
Yes, but it's more than that. Line editing is the real guts of editing. It looks at logical flow, clarity of ideas by working through the manuscript paragraph by paragraph and sentence by sentence.
Line by line.
A line by line, yes. It's a meticulous line by line review of prose, focusing on style, word choice, tone, overall readability. And it's to enhance the impact of the writing. And I love doing it because it can transform a book from an ordinary book to an extraordinary one.
And what about copy editing?
Okay, so copy editing involves checking for spelling, grammar, punctuation, and consistency errors to ensure the manuscript meets industry standards.
So then what is the role of the proofreader, if that's what copy editing?
The proofreader basically checks the copy editing.
Right.
And it's a different person to the copy editor, because it's very rare that you can have one set of eyes on a manuscript and that they will catch everything.
There's a lot of things in a manuscript to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much of this editing process is the responsibility of the publisher, and how much should the author pay someone to do it themselves?
Well, before self-publishing became common, the publishers arranged all the editing, right? But now, if you want to be picked up by a selective publisher, be it author-funded or publisher-funded, you really have to have done the line editing. Otherwise, the book, and particularly the prose, just might not be good enough to impress them.
Is that because of the sheer number of submissions that they get?
Yes, but it's also because of the competition mainstream publishers now have with self-published books. It's an economic imperative for them. They don't want to have to pay for comprehensive editing, so they only pick up books that only need a copy edit.
Yeah, so it's actually really important if you're trying to go the mainstream publishing route to get it properly edited.
Yeah, especially the line edit.
Yeah. So you're a line editor, but you also do the copy editing. Do you do that at the same time, or you do just like a pass for one and a pass for the other?
I do it at the same time, unless a book needs a great deal of line editing. The editors usually do the copy editing and line editing at the same time, which is why some people think line and copy editing are the same thing, right? They're not. And unfortunately, there's still too many self-published authors who only get their books copy edited, and it shows, at least to me.
So it really makes a difference when you're hiring an editor, what kind of editing they do.
Yeah, you need someone who knows the difference between line and copy editing.
Yeah, and ideally can do both if you don't want to hire two different editors for those two steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very rare that you would have a line editor who didn't also copy edit.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
No,
so that's usually one person.
you
Structural editing?
Usually a line editor will also do the copy editing and the developmental editing, and they may have someone else in their team that will do the proofreading. So I always make sure it's a different set of eyes to do the proofreading for us.
So one editor can do structural editing, line editing, and copy editing.
Yes.
As long as you make sure that they do all those three things. But then it's always a good idea to get a separate person to do the proofread.
Yeah, but you'll usually find that those editors will have someone associated with them that will do the proofreading.
Right.
Yeah.
Do all books need to go through every single one of those editing stages?
Well, they always do, actually, but particularly first books. As you become a more experienced author, you don't need to do them as like distinct stages. It's called a comprehensive edit. If you're an experienced author, you might find that your beta readers are sufficient for the developmental editing, but it depends on how knowledgeable those beta readers are, of course. And an experienced author will still probably choose an editor that can line edit as well as copy editing, just because their book might need just a small amount of line editing, just a sentence here or there.
It's good to have another set of eyes.
Yeah, and they need to go through the process, even if that process is mostly done by the author themselves, the process still needs to be done through. And you're still going to need that extra pair of eyes to just check that it's all in place. Yeah.
Well, thanks. That's clarified the different kinds of editing for me very nicely. So how much does professional editing impact the quality of the book?
Well, obviously it has a huge effect, which is why we do it. Professional editing improves the readability. It refines the story and the prose. It makes sure it's a professional product. And that enhances the marketability of the book.
Because at the end of the day, you want it to sell and you want readers to like it. What should authors consider when finding the right editor for their book? Because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, well, they need to look at the editor's familiarity with their genre. It's a good idea to read their blog posts to get a sense of their personality. Watch videos if they have them. Because you want to know, is this someone that you would feel comfortable working with? You need to look at how accessible and affordable they are, how responsive they are to your emails, what timeline you can expect, their professional qualifications, and the quality of the free sample edit, which most editors will offer.
And reviews from previous clients and testimonials from previous clients would help, I guess.
Yes, and you should find some on their website.
So the results of a manuscript appraisal would really tell you whether you're on the same wavelength as the editor as well, wouldn't it? And give a good idea of how good the editor actually is. And whether they get the story you're trying to tell, I guess.
Well, that's right, exactly. And mine are relatively cheap because I really want authors to get that kind of feedback, as well as getting feedback on the big picture elements. A manuscript appraisal tells them what kind of editing the book needs, and that's invaluable information.
Yeah, I mean, if an author's just sort of like, I've done as much as I can on this, I need another set of eyes on it, but I don't know what it needs. It's a really good step to take.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where can authors look for professional editors?
Well, most editors find me through an online search. They search for editors and then evaluate them through their website. You can also go to listings on Professional Editing Association sites, but you can be a good editor without belonging to an editing association. It costs quite a lot to list with them, so I don't bother. And I've never had an unsatisfied client or a gap in my schedule. So, yeah.
And what about for an author, like handling feedback from their editor? Do you have any advice for authors on that?
Yeah, it's important that you approach feedback with an open mind. You need to remember that you've hired an expert whose job it is to make your book better, and that means they need to tell you the truth.
Even if it's a hard truth.
Yeah, so an author needs to not react defensively. Take a step back and let the feedback marinate before you make the changes.
It can be hard when you're first sharing your work with someone, especially a professional in the space. So remembering that they're just trying to help you with the work. It's not like a personal attack on you.
Well, that's right, exactly.
It can be hard to separate yourself from your work in that space.
Yeah, that's right. And so you need to trust the author.
Trust the editor.
You need to trust the editor.
Yeah.
That they have your best interests at heart, and hopefully you've chosen someone who really does have your best interests at heart. And so you take all of their feedback as simply a way that you can make the work better, not as a criticism of your ability as an author. I think it was John Marsden who said, "I'm a terrible writer, but I'm a really good rewriter." And that's the thing. You'd first draft.
Strengths.
Yeah, your first draft or even your second draft can have a lot of faults in it. But if you can hear the feedback and make those changes, the book can still brilliant, you know. It's like a long way to go from your early drafts, do you find? I mean, I did 27 drafts on my first book and 7 full rewrites. I was learning, but the book won 2 awards in the end, so there you go.
Determination, folks.
Well, once you've put a certain amount of work into a book, if you then give up, it's like, well, then everything that I've done to date has not been worth it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you keep going.
Anyway, the point of that was trust your editor.
Yeah, trust the professionals that you hire. You know, that you've hired them because they know stuff that you don't know. Right? So, yeah.
So is there anything else that's important when working with an editor?
Yeah, basically good communication, being open, clear, being receptive to feedback, and actively participating in the editing process. So, you know, asking questions if you've got questions, that sort of thing.
So that's it for today, folks. If you have any questions for our resident managing editor, do ask them in the comment section below or contact Talia through our website for a manuscript proposal and onwards from there.
And don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next video in our Writing Tips series. Thanks for watching. Bye.